Let's get back to the Quad Summit and the biggest headline from it, the launch of a maritime surveillance system. It is meant to track illegal fishing. It's called the IPMDA, or the Indo-Pacific Partnership for Maritime Domain Awareness. Now, how does this work? How big is the problem of illegal fishing? How does the Quad plan to fix it? Which countries will benefit from it? Also, how has China reacted? We'll try to answer all of these questions one by one. Let's first try and understand how the system works. The IPMDA. It's a satellite-based tracking system. It connects existing surveillance infrastructure in Singapore, in India, and in the Pacific. And the idea is to track illegal fishing in this region. When I say the region, I mean the Indian Ocean, Southeast Asia, and the South Pacific. Now, why illegal fishing? Why is it such a big deal? Because that's a new front that China has opened. 3.3 billion people around the world, almost half the world's population, depend on fish for protein. And China has become a threat to their food security. All because China wants to flex its muscle. It wants to showcase its supposed strategic influence on the high seas. And we'll get to that in a bit. What you must know at this moment is that China has been violating various economic zones. It's become a repeat offender. And some of you may be surprised to learn that China is responsible for 95% of the illegal fishing in the Indo-Pacific. 95%. What about the rest of the world? Well, China tops that list too. It is the world's worst offender. There's something called the IUU Fishing Index. It basically maps illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing. And this index puts China on top of the illegal fishing chart. Beijing is overseeing this fishy business. It has equipped its fishermen with the world's largest distant water fishing fleet, or what's called the DWF fleet, distant water fishing fleet. Some 17,000 vessels have spread themselves across the world, and these vessels are encroaching territorial waters. They're hunting for seafood, scooping the oceans of their resources. Reports say Chinese fishermen are overfishing in the Pacific, in South America, even in Western Africa. And this predatory fishing has become a global headache. It's impacting fish stocks and ocean resources. Fishermen around the world are suffering because of this. Even friendly countries like Argentina and Mexico are now raising an alarm. In the South China Sea and East China Sea, Philippines, Indonesia, they all say that China has been encroaching into their territorial waters. They say Chinese vessels are leaving nothing for the local fishing boats. In Sierra Leone, fishermen say Chinese fishing has affected their livelihood. Like I said, Chinese illegal fishing has become a global headache now. And the Quad is trying to solve this problem. This proposed system will be able to track illegal fishing boats, and it will be able to do so even if the vessels turn off their transponders, meaning even if they go off the radar. What happens once these vessels are identified? Now that is not clear. That plan of action has not been made public yet. Next question. Which countries will benefit from this initiative? Well, all, barring China obviously. Countries globally will benefit because overfishing, like I told you, is a global problem. We spoke about food security. Now let's look at livelihood. 60 million people the world over are engaged in fisheries and aquaculture sector. Every time a Chinese vessel overfishes or fishes in a country's territorial waters, it also hits the country's economy. According to one estimate, the economic loss from illegal fishing runs up to $20 billion every year. 20 billion. The US Coast Guard says this is a bigger maritime threat than piracy. Experts say the Quad's initiative to check illegal fishing and track dark ships will win support of most Southeast Asian countries, especially those countries which are engaged in territorial disputes with China, and there are many of those. Well, now that the announcement has been made, we'll have to see how these countries react. But what has China said? How has China reacted? What's its comment on this maritime surveillance initiative? Well, so far nothing, but it's safe to assume that a Chinese reaction is only a matter of time. After all, for Beijing, this fishy business is an integral part of its foreign policy, because this is not just about fishing, it's about snooping too. China's distant water fishing fleet not only scoop the ocean of its resources, but also spread themselves across the world as a projection of Beijing's supposed strategic influence. Think of it like the imperial voyages. Reports say Chinese vessels have been bullying fishing boats of smaller nations, and history has ominous ends to such stories. The Quad is trying to check all of this. India, the United States, Japan, Australia, they're all reminding China about maritime boundaries, about the need to respect economic zones. This is the Quad, checking Chinese expansionism and upholding a free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.